Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brad Etlin, and I'm a realtor with Kale Realty. This is Chicagoans at Home Talk and Shop. And today I'm so pleased to have with me my colleague and good friend, Victoria Dorsano. She is a health and lifestyle coach with Be Victorious Coaching. Great to have you, Victoria.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. Did I mess up any of your title or
Nope, you got it.
no?
Ease and
Awesome.
all.
Awesome. So I have so many questions for you about your business. You're great at what you do, and I can say that because I'm one of your clients, and I'm already very pleased with the results that you've helped me realize. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So for our audience, I have a number of content related questions, but I want to just open things up with a couple fun ones, if I may.
Sure.
So what does the perfect day look like for Victoria Dorsano?
Ooh, okay, gosh, I've had a couple of these, and it takes me all the way back to high school. So I used to coach volleyball. Like while I was also being coached, I used to coach adult volleyball, and I would go. Like my perfect day it was awesome. I would go into the city, drive first thing in the morning because I was out in the burbs, and I would have breakfast in my car, which is fine. I'd get to the volleyball courts nice and early at North Avenue Beach, have everything set up. I'd run a few clinics, play a few games, see a few friends. I'd basically hang out there all day, grab some Thai food in Lincoln Park on Halstead, and then hang out with some friends there, and then pretty much call it a night. But just a good blend of like fun, activity, getting a good sweat on, all that stuff combined, and just the majesty of the city is so wonderful, especially if you can get down there and spend the whole day at North Avenue Beach or Montrose and really just enjoy the culture of it. It's awesome.
For sure. No, that sounds awesome. I love beach volleyball. It's one of my favorite things to do in Chicago in the summer and in this city. This city, I always say, summertime, this is the best city in America. Like my heart's in California, but summertime, no other place competes with Chicago.
It's amazing. Everyone just comes out of hibernation and everyone is just so lively and just
Yeah.
it's magic. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Exactly, exactly. Cool. Well, you have to recommend a beach volleyball league for me once things get return back to normal.
Get to play sports again. Yeah.
Right? Okay, sounds good. So one other question for you. What are some quirks about Victoria?
So this is a funny one. One of the weird quirks that I have is like I hate squeezing cotton balls. Like hate.
I do too.
Do you? Oh
I
my
can't
god, I
I
haven't met
can't stand cotton. I can't stand cotton. My kids will like bring a cotton ball near me and be like, "Daddy."
I'm the
Freaks me
same.
out.
I don't know why. It's like somebody scratching on a chalkboard for me. It's the equivalent of that. And like just
Totally.
squeezing a cotton ball, I can't do it. I can't do
It's
it.
the worst. I'm like that about velvet as well. If I have to touch velvet fabric, I
I could
go into
see that.
panic mode.
I could see that. I've honestly not I haven't met anybody else with the cotton thing, so that's great. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
See, we were brought together for a reason, Victoria.
So true. Yeah, I'd say that's probably one of my main quirks. The other one is just that I'm a very sweaty person. I was actually, I don't know if you've had Andy Height on the show yet, but I was talking to him about
Yeah.
this. He's helped me out a lot about this because as an athlete, you're constantly sweating. Your body adapts to being sweaty all the time. And now I could just take a brisk walk or stand up out of this chair and I'll break a sweat. And it's just what I do. So at this point, everyone around me knows it. They're like, "Oh, Victoria's sweating again. This is normal." So that's another weird quirk about me that like not a lot of people expect, but I sweat like crazy.
All right. I actually can relate. I am the exact same way, believe it or not.
Hey,
So
yeah, we're twinning
yeah,
so far.
we're pretty much same person, Victoria. All right. So let's get into some questions about your health coaching business. So I think health coach can mean different things to different people. So to a newcomer, how do you describe the role of a health coach and how do they help people?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of go over to like the general description first, but when it comes down to it, every health coach has their unique set of specialties and things that they bring to the table. Some health coaches just work with particular, particular groups of people or particular diseases, lifestyle diseases, or, just working on nutrition. And some people work with a lot of other things. But health coaching in general is just a great way to, if you're working on something in your health and wellness and wanting to adapt something in your lifestyle, and you need the accountability and you need the structure and you need some different tools and ways to do that. And also just have somebody to fact check some of the crazy information that's out there on the internet with health and wellness. A health
Yeah.
coach can provide that for you. So they'll really provide you the structure you need, one, the accountability you need to accomplish those health and wellness goals, and also bring you into a community. Most of us have a community of different clients that we work with. And I think that's a huge part of it too, is knowing that you're not alone in making those changes, because sometimes it could be tough. But more particularly in my side of things, I like to work with all realms of health and what I consider true health. And that being like the physical component, which is working on our nutrition and our fitness and that aspect of things, but also diving deeper and considering your emotional well-being, how we're processing emotions and the life events that happen in our lives, our relationships, building those strong, deep, and interconnected relationships with other people around you, making sure you feel like you have a purpose in life. All those things really creates health, true health. And that's my passion, is bringing those other components into the picture, so that, yeah, we're changing the outside and how you look, if you're working on towards weight loss or to fitness, but we're also changing the inside, because that's what makes these things really stick. So I'm looking for really creating something sustainable in the long run that'll last a lifetime.
Yeah, and one of the things I've observed from your work, which is so helpful to me, is you do have a holistic and also kind of an objective purview. Whereas someone like me who's trying to lose some weight, I'm just in my daily routine, moving a million miles per minute. I don't think about simple things. So, you pointed out to me that, for example, how much sleep are you getting? If I'm not getting enough sleep, my metabolism might be slower, and
Yep.
that actually impedes my ability to burn off excess weight, right?
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you're not getting enough sleep, there's this little, I find it funny that the name of this hormone actually sounds like gremlin, like a little gremlin. It's called ghrelin. And
Okay.
it's naturally, we produce more of it if we don't get enough sleep. We produce more of it in the daytime. So we actually start to feel hungrier. We consume more calories that our body doesn't actually necessarily need sometimes. So um,
Interesting.
that's another component to it too. Yeah, I'm a big
Huh.
fan of everything that I talk about being evidence-based, because there's so
Right.
much crap out there on the internet.
Right. And you were also, one other thing you were very helpful in pointing out was when we were reviewing my workout routine, I told you that I was, working out basically 6 days a week and seeing little to no results. And you said, well, what are you doing? And you basically pointed out to me that I was ignoring my lower body workout, which is where the bulk of the muscles are that burn fat,
Yeah.
right? And that's something I would never in a million years have known. And it was just a simple thing to you, but was the world to me. I'm already seeing that that's helping me.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are some of the things that I forget, that like those simple things, right? Because I've been doing this for such a long time, and I've talked to my husband about it. He's like, yes, but other people in their lives, you forget about these things, or you don't think about them because you're doing your own thing. And that's something
Right.
that like you said, like I just like to bring that to the table too, and really break things down in a simple way.
Right. Good stuff. So I notice your logo has a bee in it. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I actually, part of my proceeds in my company, they go to a Save the Bees Foundation, because I think bees are incredible. First of all, like what they produce is amazing. Actually, mead, which is honey wine, is one of the first forms of alcohol recorded ever. So we owe that to them. That the Egyptians actually used to find hives and distill the honey into mead. Um, and super cool. The honey itself is just an amazing product. It has antiviral properties, antibacterial properties. They used to use it as a healing salve back in ancient Egypt. So there's so much to the product that they make themselves, but also bees. I mean, we owe 90% of the produce and the food that we have today to bees, because they pollinate. And without them, if they weren't around, they wouldn't pollinate these foods and we wouldn't have the food supply that we do. So I always say, like, I feel like I owe it to them that I'm able to be a health coach and recommend healthy food because they're the ones actually helping to produce the healthy food in the first place. So it's
Right.
kind of like, I kind of owe them for my career in a way.
I figured that's where you derived your meaning from. I actually studied environmental studies in undergrad, and of course, that's one of the basic things you learn up front is honeybees are the foundation of the ecosystem, right?
Yeah,
Without honeybees pollinating, there is no food,
absolutely. I mean,
right?
we'd have to use human capital to pollinate, cross pollinate. It would be such a big task and probably not as successful as bees do it.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah.
Okay, so tell me about some of the health and fitness myths out there and any of them that you can dispel up front.
So, one that I hear a lot from women in particular, and I think there's been a lot more truth being put out there now about this, but about weightlifting as a woman, that you're going to get bulky. You're not going to gain a ton of muscle. You're not going to look like a man if you lift heavy weights. We don't have testosterone or as much testosterone as men do, which is
Okay,
what helps to create that kind of bulkier muscle. So a lot of women fear that if they lift weights or lift heavier weights, that they're going to start to develop like a man's physique, and that's just not scientifically accurate or true. So that's one that I always talk about. It's actually really healthy to weightlift for both men and women to prevent, osteoporosis or any kind of bone disease, because the muscle actually takes some pressure off of bone. Um, there's a lot of great other benefits too. You boost your metabolism, tons of stuff. Another one that comes around this time of year with the new year and everything, because there's so much marketing being put into this, is like detoxes, cleanses, juice cleanses, detox teas, anything like that. Um, will they help you maybe drop some weight right away? Yes, because you don't have much fiber in your system at that point and you'll lose some water weight. But a lot of the detoxing effect that people think their organs are actually detoxing is just their gastrointestinal tract getting upset because there's so much sugar coming in from the juice cleanse or the tea cleanse, and it pushes everything out. So that effect that you think might be cleansing or detoxing is actually just evacuating your bowels, which isn't really detoxing.
see, and this was something that I was headed down the detox path, and that's exactly what you said to me was, it may help you, purge a little bit of weight short term, but it's not you're gonna gain your weight back. So you weren't opposed to it, but it wasn't a long-term sustainable solution.
Right, exactly. Definitely not. And a lot of people use it as a kickstart, but just think too, like if it can create a lot of gastrointestinal distress and stuff that just doesn't feel good on the digestive system. So I always caution people away from that and say, hey, if you're looking to it for the nutrients that you can get, we can still get that in your whole foods and the way that you're eating on a normal basis too. Um, and the last one I kind of want to address is probably, gosh, there's so many. I'm going to say, just because this is a buzzword, is the keto diet. Um, the keto diet being good for fat loss, it's really not. It's not great for
Okay.
health at all either. A lot of the fat loss that people think they get from it is just water weight, because when you eliminate carbs, your body stops holding as much water, because carbs actually hold water. They promote water retention in the muscles. So what they see when people start keto diets is they'll notice like that first month a big drop in weight, usually about 10 pounds. Most of that's water weight that drops. And over time, the keto diet's not great for long-term health because it's putting a ton of stress on other organs to use ketones, which is not your body's primary source of energy. It's your body's secondary source. So it's basically like, okay, it would be like, Brad, okay, I can give you this amazing, piece of chicken and some broccoli and some rice, or you can have grass. Can you survive off the grass? Probably for a little bit, sure. You're still getting something,
I
but
wouldn't be very happy.
you wouldn't be very happy, and it's not your body's preferred source of food. So your body's gonna
Right.
have to work a little bit harder to pull like whatever nutrients it can from there. So that's something that I always talk to people about too, is keto diet was really just developed for epileptic children to stop their seizures. And that's the only thing it really medically can be used for.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yep.
I had no
So,
idea. Yeah, and isn't the idea really to, isn't one of the problems with many people's health the fact that they're not taking in enough water? Isn't this almost the opposite of that?
yeah, so it is kind of the opposite of it, but it's a different type of water. So this is water that gets
Okay,
stored in the muscle versus water
okay,
that's kind of passed through your GI tract and into your cells. So this is more so
okay,
water that's like stored into the muscle tissue. So
got
it
it.
dehydrates the muscles, which then, yes, in theory can actually create some injury too if you're training really hard on top of doing a keto diet. So that is a good point.
Okay. So who can benefit from your services? I hear all sorts of different, components or areas that you can assist with, from working out to eating better to sleeping better. Who should reach out to you for help?
Yeah, I think if you're feeling like if anybody's feeling stressed, overwhelmed, and not sure where to start, like they know, I always hear like I know what I should be doing, or I have an idea of what I should be doing, but I'm not doing it. I just can't get myself to do it or figure out why
Right,
I'm not doing it.
right.
There's a gap there that needs to be addressed, and that's something that I could really help with in addressing that. So yeah, those people that are just feeling chronically stressed, feeling like they know they need to change something, but they don't know where to start or what it is or why they're not doing it. Those would be all key indicators of a health coach being a good assist point for you.
Health coach to me initially, excuse me, initially sounded scary price wise. True or
Yeah.
false?
What was that?
Uh, the, how accessible are you in terms of cost?
Yeah. So well, the good news is, so I will say this: in the next 2 years or so, health coaching has the possibility of being accepting insurance, so that's cool. But aside from that, right now it's primarily just cash based, and I think what I offer, I try to create a big range of what people, and custom curate it for what somebody's looking for and work with their budget. So it really depends on the health coach per se. But for me, I offer, anywhere from a group program level to one-on-one exclusive coaching where it's a lot of intensive training, if you really want a quick start there. So and everything in between. So I really try to work with everybody on pricing because my job's to help you reduce your stress, not provide more stress. So if pricing's doing that, that's where we can have a conversation about, hey, what would work for you? How can we make this work? And hey, I'm even open to bartering sometimes too if it's the right kind of barter. So
Okay. Well, one of the things I really appreciate about working with you is, we have our sessions, we have our group sessions, but you'll shoot me a text out of the blue. Is it working? How are you? I can tell you really want me to succeed. It's not at all about money with you. And so that's something I'm very, very grateful for.
yeah, of course. Yeah, my biggest interest is getting everybody to feel better because when people feel better, they do great things in the world, and that's what I want to see. So,
For sure. So tell me, if you weren't doing this health coach business, what would you be doing?
so I would probably want to try to be a voice actor. I love yeah, I love doing cartoon voices, different types of voices. I can do really good impressions. I have this strange ability. If somebody repeats something or says something to me, I can like mimic their voice pretty well and the way that they say it really well. I'm
So
not
you're like a female Hank Azaria, basically,
I don't who's Hank Azaria? And
from The Simpsons, all the Simpsons voices. Come on. Oh,
okay, so
man.
I know I'm late to the game on The Simpsons, and I'm trying on my Bart. I'm so trying on my Bart. That's one that my husband's trying to get me to do. I'm learning that one, but I'm more so like Rugrats, like really squeaky baby voices. Timmy Turner from Fairly Odd Parents, I'm really good at. There's a particular voice actress that does those ones, and I'm slowly kind of opening up my repertoire to different ones too. But it's
All
interesting.
right, I have a request. Can you work on a Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons? And when we regroup live, you're gonna
I'll
show us your stuff.
I'll add it.
Sweet, I'm gonna hold you to that.
My secondary career. I'll know if I can really make it or not.
All right, so one final question for you. What's your favorite saying to live by, Victoria?
I would say don't make yourself small for the comfort of others. I see that a lot where people stop themselves from shining or stepping into their full potential because it makes other people around them uncomfortable. And of course, I'm not saying like go ahead and boast and be your most, annoying, audacious self. I'm saying, don't hold in your shine. I see that a lot, especially with people that want to lose weight. Sometimes want to make themselves smaller, both in size but also in their presence in a room. And that's something I'm really, really passionate about, is making sure that those two things don't always have to go together. That if you're wanting to lose weight or you're wanting to make yourself physically smaller, that doesn't mean you're also boxing yourself in and limiting yourself. So there's a whole lot more I want to talk about on that subject, but this would be like an hour-long podcast session about the history and the whole diet industry and everything about weight loss and how it targets women and blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to get into that today. So
that can be our next one if you'll come back as my guest.
yeah, I would love to.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I would love to kick it off and ask some questions about you as well, but let's start with just some fun ones, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, definitely. Bring it.
Perfect. So what is, I know you've traveled quite a bit. I've heard a little bit about your travels. What's the most unique vacation that you've ever taken?
There's been a few, but what's coming to mind is I did basically a polar bear safari in the Arctic.
Wow.
So one of my first jobs, I worked in central Canada in Winnipeg, and I promised myself that when I moved there, I was going to take a vacation week and fly up to the Arctic to northern Manitoba and go on this polar bear safari, which I did. And it was basically like you stay, I mean, I think it's more commercialized now, but a place called Churchill, Manitoba. And I flew up from Winnipeg about 2.5 hours north. So Winnipeg is already itself pretty north. So you can imagine, way up there, actually in the Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
And you stay in this tiny community with, I don't know, I don't even think it's 1,000 people that live there. There's no hotels. There's one bar/restaurant. And if you want to go, you basically rent a room in somebody's house so that you can go on these polar bear safaris. And that's what I did. So this was 20 years ago. This was pre Airbnb. That didn't even exist. So it was a little bit awkward, staying in some random person's house in a room.
Yeah.
So you can go on this safari, but super nice, super accommodating. And then we went out for a full day, it might have been a day and a half, and you get on these huge elevated, basically school buses raised up on like 20-foot high tires. So you're way up in the air, and it's a school bus. And the windows are propped open like just this much because it's not safe to hang your head out the window, and there's polar bears literally climbing on the side of the bus to reach up to you at the window. So just an absolutely surreal experience. I promised my kids that when they're a little bit older, I'll take them to do that. Highly recommended. It's just polar bears in the raw, playing, fighting, propping themselves up on your window of the school bus.
And they're massive, like their paws, and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't think people realize how big they are.
Yeah.
Like their paws are just huge. It's crazy. I've seen
They are.
Wild.
They're massive. And one of the interesting factoids I learned on that trip was their fur looks really soft, right?
Yeah.
And it's not. It's actually very abrasive.
Really?
So we didn't pet them, but it's like steel wool, basically, like SOS pads.
What's the function of that? Do you know?
I don't even know. I really don't know. But that was something I found. I was very surprised. It looked so cuddly and furry and cuddly, but it's actually a very rough, abrasive fur.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. That's wild. That's kind of like, I know that giraffes had black tongues until I saw one stick its tongue out. I was like, oh my gosh.
I did not know that. That's cool.
It's actually to prevent their tongues from getting sunburnt when they're feeding on trees, because they have their tongues out so often. Yeah, because they have
that makes total sense.
So it doesn't get sunburnt. So
crazy.
Weird things you don't know about other animals. So
right.
So you mentioned Winnipeg. So where are you from originally?
I am from Toronto, which is in the province or state of Ontario. It's about 500 miles northeast of here. Born and raised.
So I've heard a lot of people that are, I think from Chicago that have mentioned that they love going to Toronto because it reminds them of Chicago. Is that true? Do the cities kind of resemble each other?
Very similar. They both border, have one of the Great Lakes, Lake Ontario and Toronto, and of course Lake Michigan here. So they both border a Great Lake, and they're about similar in size. Interestingly, Toronto's population is actually bigger than Chicago's.
Hmm,
Most people don't realize that.
yeah,
And it's kind of a big city, but not a too big of a city. It's kind of a mid-sized city, so very similar in that regard. Very clean, very nice people. All the museums, arts, restaurants, and bars you can imagine. Great place to visit and great place to grow up.
awesome. I will have to. That's definitely one of the cities I've been wanting to check out in Canada. So,
You
all right.
should. It's close.
So I have a few real estate questions for you. Um, True or false? We'll start with this one. It's difficult for self-employed people to qualify for a mortgage.
The answer is false. If you're self-employed, you can, if you have 2 years of income, you can easily qualify for a mortgage and become a homeowner.
Oh,
So most people don't know that, or they just have a lot of questions about it and assume they have to rent because their income is sporadic or inconsistent or they're their own boss. But there's almost always a product out there that I can help people utilize to get into the housing market.
that's so great to know, especially in the rise of the solopreneur and entrepreneur realm. I feel like a lot
Exactly.
are in
Exactly.
that territory now. So that's good to
Yeah,
know.
a lot of people are in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So real estate prices are high. This is another true or false. So real estate prices are high. So now's not the best time to get into the market as a first time home buyer.
So I would say false. And the reason I say that is interest rates are so low that particularly for those who folks that plan on moving and staying somewhere for 3 to 5 plus years, interest rates are so low, and in fact they're starting to rise already. Just in the past month or so, they've risen about on average about a quarter of a percent for a 30 year. So interest rates are so low. So if you're staying somewhere for 3, 5 plus years, um, despite the fact that prices are pretty high right now, it's still, when you compare what you're going to be paying on a mortgage to what you're paying on rent, you'd be surprised. And another thing that people forget to think about when they're renting and considering becoming first time home buyers is the tax benefit. I'm not a CPA, but I can tell you that it's always worth talking to a CPA about how much you can potentially save on your taxes just by being a homeowner.
Yeah, we
Um,
just had our tax planning session too. We realized that we're like, next year we might be in the market for looking for somewhere to live. So we'll be
yeah,
you.
exactly, because of course you can write off a portion of the interest from your home from your income. So for a lot of my clients, that's $500 a month. Sometimes it's $1,000 a month. It's often not insignificant. So it's that factor, the tax factor alone is worth talking to a CPA about.
Absolutely. All right. Another one, true or false? So first time home buyers need 20% down payment to qualify for a mortgage.
The answer is false. There are products out there, FHA products, you can actually qualify with as little as 3.5% down.
Wow.
And working with me, I have a lot of experience in also helping buyers negotiate some of the closing costs into the home purchase. So, for example, recently closed a $325,000 home, and the client brought $9,000 to the closing table, including down payment and including all closing costs. So
Wow.
they became a homeowner with $9,000 and they bought a single family home in the city of Chicago. So
Wow.
there's totally products out there. You do not need 20%. If you can, it's great because the major benefit of bringing 20% is that you avoid mortgage insurance, commonly known as PMI.
Mhm.
If you have 20%, you don't have to pay that additional mortgage insurance. But if you have, 3.5% to put down, you can always pay down your mortgage um, sooner if you have extra or when you have extra cash, and eventually get to the point where you are 20% equity in your home. And at that point, your mortgage insurance will drop off on a conventional loan product.
Yeah. Oh, so it sounds like there's a lot of different strategies you can take with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This next one. So, true or false? Only rich people can invest in real estate, like the Grant Cardones of the world.
False, definitely false. And most people are surprised how little, again, is often required to become a landlord. Again, with this 3.5% example on an FHA loan product, you could buy um, a home with 2 to 4 units and qualify for an FHA loan with 3.5% down if you're living in that property.
Wow.
So you could actually have 1 to 3 tenants living in your building that you own, helping to pay your mortgage, as long as you're living in that property with 3.5% down. So totally affordable. Being a landlord is not just for rich people. Um, so definitely products out there. People come to me because I'm a one-stop shop. I can help them with the financing. I'm a licensed loan officer. I'm also a licensed realtor. So I could help them connect the dots and answer all of their questions from finance to, finding the right investment property, to finding the right trades, general contractors, or trades to rehab, gut rehab, fix minor things, fix big things. And I can also help with the management of their property.
That's
So a
yeah.
lot easier than what most people think. Um, it is definitely doable to become a landlord.
Yeah. And I also love that you educate who you're working with too. I think that you do a really good job even in this conversation. I'm learning a lot too. And I think you do a great job of breaking it down because there's so many questions that I think especially first time home buyers have, or people
For
in
sure.
my generation who are, in their 20s, 30s that are want to know more but are afraid to ask because they feel like they should already know these things or feel like, but how would we? So I think so
Right.
people like you that educate and really break things down in a way that's understandable to the average person is really important out there. So I really appreciate these thoughtful answers.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And, quite frankly, I have people calling me every week, just asking for basic answers. And, um, they're interested in becoming a homeowner, they're interested in becoming a landlord, and you don't know what you don't know, right? And why people come to me is because I can explain things in a very simple manner to them, in a very non-patronizing manner to them.
Yeah.
And I get calls from people that I don't hear again from for a year or 2 years, and guess what, they call me back when they're ready because I've helped position them financially. I've helped them focus their plan, and I've built trust with them, and that's okay. If anyone has a question they'd like to talk about in terms of qualifying for a mortgage or finding the right property, I'd love to speak with you. I don't expect you to buy right now. If you want to buy, great, I'm here for you. But it can just be a talk. I'm low pressure, no pressure, and I want to be helpful to you.
And you have a super calming voice that just like
You've said that to me before. Thank you so much, Victoria. Too funny.
so that brings me to my next true or false, which I can already tell this is false, because you're very different than other realtors I've spoken to too. So all realtors are the same. It makes no difference who you use or sell or buy with.
So that is definitely a false. There's a lot of good realtors out there. The one thing I can promise is I know what I'm talking about, and I'll never push you into a situation you shouldn't be in. So if you're looking for a home, regardless of what you pre-qualify for, if you're looking for something that is maybe too much of a stretch for you, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you to walk away from that opportunity, because this is not a transactional business for me. Of course, I need to help people buy and sell homes to eat, but my you know my goal is to work with you throughout our lives, and I'm never going to push you into something that's the wrong decision for you, whether as an investor or as a home buyer. I want you to be happy. I want you to be comfortable. I want you to bite off something you can chew, because I want you to come back to me, right? I want to work with you for many, many years. I want to buy and sell homes with you throughout our lives. And that's all based on trust. And you have my promise that I will never push you into anything that's not good for you.
I love that. That's such a nice philosophy to live by. And I think that makes people feel very comfortable. And like you said, you're in it for the relationship, for developing that
Right.
long-term relationship. And just kind of off the cuff, what would you say is your favorite part about doing what you do right now?
It sounds pretty cliche, but putting a young family into their first home, with a little baby, it's happened a few times over the past year. I absolutely love it. Knowing that I was part of helping them move from renter status to homeowner status and find a beautiful, more comfortable space for them and their kids. I absolutely love it. It totally keeps me going. Real estate is not a stress-free job. There's a lot of stress involved. My job, of course, is to absorb that stress and help my clients move on to the next chapter of their life, and be the sponge for that stress, to walk them through all the steps from pre-planning through execution to moving in and follow up. I want to make that a seamless, uh, may, it may not be stress-free, but I want to minimize stress because there's a lot of moving parts. My job is to coach my clients along that path and make it a positive experience for them.
Awesome. And then my job is to take that sponge that is you that you've absorbed and then
So true. Full circle. This is like a Seinfeld episode.
full
Well
circle.
done. Well done. Well, so great to have you. I had a lot of fun speaking with you as always, Victoria. Where can people find you on the web, or how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, I always say for right now, reach out to me on my personal Facebook page. It's Victoria Dorsano is my personal Facebook page. My website will soon be under construction and getting a much needed like facelift because I tried to do it myself and I shouldn't have done that.
Okay.
So, for Facebook for right now, and then reach out to me there, send me a message. Yeah, and what about you?
Yeah, I can be reached by mobile. Shoot me a text or give me a call anytime. It's 312-709-3247. Or you can reach me online at bradryans.com, BRADRYANS.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much again for having me on today. I had a great conversation, learned a lot too. And yeah, excited to
Absolutely.
come back and talk more about that quote I have if you ever want me to go on a rant for a little bit.
Yes, and I want to hear the Ralph Wiggum imitation, by the way. I'm going to
I
hold you
have it
to that,
written down.
Victoria.
It's on my to-dos.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks to our guests for joining us. This is Brad Etlin. I'm a broker with Kale Realty. Again, my guest today was Victoria Dorsano with Be Well Health Coaching. Great to have you. This was Chicagoans at Home Talking Shop. Thank you so much, and see you all again soon.